it comes down to milliseconds, literally, centimeters, millimeters, like the difference in first and second can be this much. And I struggled with it for a long time. Like I even remember in college, I had like male coaches, typical, like, you're really good if you lost 10 pounds. And I'm like, okay, cool, bro. It's affected relationships. It's affected my career. It's affected, you put everything on hold for this. So the things that you learn, the adversity you go through, that shapes your character and is going to shape how you navigate life way past. And so I sat there and I was like, this could be your last, I get emotional talking about it, but like this could be your last time ever hitting the blocks, and like soak it in. So I like sat there and just looked at the stadium with the lights and like my family, and just like really took a moment to just like take it in, because I think I just knew it was my last.
I'm Ashley.
And I'm Maddie.
And this is the Newport Psycho.
We're joined today by, oh my gosh, one of my best friends and literally one of the most incredible people I've ever met, Annie Kunz.
So sweet. Thank you
Hey,
guys.
girl, hey.
I'm so excited.
Look at her body.
She's
so hot.
When she walked in today, I was kind of like, damn, I want
Yeah,
that.
imagine being one of her best friends, like literally a Greek god, and I'm just like, hey.
Yeah, you're pretty homely,
yeah,
Maddie.
whatever.
Yeah, pretty homely.
Get your
my
shit
ass.
together, Maddie.
Pretty homely, my ass.
Annie, who's your psycho?
So my psycho is being an Olympic athlete, I think. I joke now, especially because I'm a little bit more removed from it. I've had some time away from the sport, a little bit, only a couple months, but I think because I've fully been able to like turn it off, I've realized how neurotic, which I knew I was neurotic always. When it came to track and field, you have to be. To be an elite athlete and to go to the Olympics, to be an Olympian, you have to sacrifice so much. You have to be dedicated. You have to be so disciplined every day. It's not like a 9 to 5 where you get to turn it off on the weekend. Like it's on all the time. So I've been training in track and field professionally for the last 8 seasons. That sounds crazy. I didn't realize it's been that long.
Wait, what is 8 seasons like? What is
so like 8
timeline?
years, basically.
Okay, 8 years.
Yeah.
Tell us like a little bit about like when you were talking about like nutrition, like
Yeah.
how did that incorporate into it?
Yeah, because I want to know what the hell an Olympian eats.
Yeah. A lot of steak.
She eats a lot. Like she
lot of red
eats
meat.
a lot.
I'm
A
over
lot
here,
of red
like-
meat. A lot of red meat.
I'm like picturing myself while she's got like washboard abs.
I
and, like, this.
That was a massive role in becoming an Olympian. I feel like, and especially in college, your nutritionists and stuff, I just learned that they don't really have a lot to offer when it came to me, at least. I didn't learn much from.
they
Like,
give
in
you that
college,
like that freaking pyramid.
the
Like
pyramid,
here you go,
the
boop,
food
and
pyramid.
it's like what
all, yeah, it's all that I could really get into, but it's not helpful. And so I
So
really,
this was in college though. That
Yeah,
they
in
gave you, like, the
college.
little pyramid that was like basically nothing for you.
yeah, like
Okay.
it didn't help at all. And I worked with nutritionists in the past, and it just like nothing had ever really helped me. I didn't really see any changes. And then I think just being in track and field too, it comes down to milliseconds, literally, centimeters, millimeters, like the difference in first and second can be this much.
Holy crap! How it's literally like
you can't even tell like when they go to the finish line.
I'm
You're
like,
who
I'm
the
like,
hell
who just
won?
won?
Yeah.
Who the hell
like, who just
won?
won?
Right. So when it comes down to milliseconds, centimeters, inches from a gold medal versus a silver, you literally want to have your body at optimal performance. Your body fat percentage is very important. And even like in college,
like what's the ideal
for
body fat?
track, girls probably like 10 to 12% body fat, probably. Any
Okay.
lower than that, you're probably gonna like not get your period and kind of mess up your hormones. I like to keep mine around 12%. 10% was probably a little bit too lean for me, a little bit, but it's integral to my success. And I struggled with it for a long time. Like I even remember in college, I had like male coaches, typical, like, you'd be really good if you lost 10 pounds. And I'm like, okay, cool, bro.
Ouch.
Learn how to talk to women.
Ouch.
Yeah, like,
Ow. We'd be walking up and just fucking turn right back around like, no, not
Literally.
today. Not today, Satan.
And I noticed I was eating healthier than my training partners. And like I just think their genetics and metabolics were like better than mine just naturally. My training partners would be much fitter, like smaller, leaner than I was, but I was eating better than them. So it was like very frustrating when you think that you're doing everything right and you're not seeing the results. And so kind of like a God thing, I was on vacation with my boyfriend and his family. Our bartender's wife is like in master's track and field, and she specializes in metabolics. So she's a metabolic practitioner. I didn't meet her on that trip just of the timing, but she actually was in Long Beach at a meet. I met her afterwards. We got dinner, and she just like blew my mind with the amount of information. She was trained under Charles Poliquin, who is like a big name, and learned everything under him. And she put me on a protocol for my, like, the thing that I love about her is like, it's not like a one size fits all. She looks at your body. You send her your blood work. She does this like pinch technique so she can figure out where you're storing your fat. Cause like DEXA machines, a lot of times they'll tell you like your body fat percentage, but it's not telling you specifically
like,
where.
Ashley, it's right here. Should be like,
but like, that's the interesting thing. She's like, okay, if you're storing fat in your stomach, that's your cortisol is too high. If you're storing it in your hamstrings, which my hamstrings were crazy high. Like my numbers were like 50, I think.
Wow.
And that means that you're storing toxins in your body. So you need to get rid of like all fragrance, environmental toxins, like get rid of it all. And like in 6 weeks with working with her, after she put me on a protocol like for nutrition specific to my body, like what I need. Like I didn't think I could have carbs. She's like, no, eat the potatoes, but eat them at dinner and make sure they're only colored potatoes. Like specific things of
okay, where do we find this legend?
She's amazing.
She's incredible.
Yeah,
she's
fast over 40.
Like,
is her
fast over
Instagram.
40.
Can we
Cynthia,
give her a shout out?
Yeah.
Where do we
Cynthia is
find
the goat. We love you,
Cynthia's
Cynthia.
Like, Cynthia, can you do a pinch test
Yeah.
on me? Because I need you.
Like Andy got me hooked onto her too, and she really is incredible.
That's
like,
amazing.
What
She's
she
a
can
world
say,
of knowledge. She's like
That's
an
crazy.
encyclopedia.
yeah,
It's just-
she changed your game for sure.
Yeah,
and,
she
and
changed
you
it for-
ate more than you had been, which was great. Like she was just eating like the things
And
that
I
were
was
good
in
for her
season
body.
when I met her, so I was in really good shape, and I was in better shape than I had been in previous years. But I like if you look at my before and after, it's just like I got like shredded after working with her. In 6 weeks, I lost 6% body fat.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was crazy. I didn't even know I had that to lose. I increased my long jump by 1.5 feet.
Whoa.
I had a hurdle PR. I had an overall PB in the heptathlon, and this was in 2019 when I started working with her. I'd only been working with her for 6 weeks when all this happened, and then I made my first World Championships team. I've placed like 11th, I think, at my first World Championship. So I was like, "This shit works. I'm in."
You're like, take my
And
money. Take my money.
But
Yeah.
but with this, like
It created this like neurotic thing of
Yep.
like, I know how to eat. I know how to fuel. I know what it does to my body.
So you became psycho.
So I'm psycho.
Yeah.
Like. And
Like-
not like in a healthy way. I don't want to think like I had an eating disorder. And it was nothing like that. It's just a lifestyle change. But it's one of those things where like I can't have pizza on a Wednesday with my boyfriend
Right.
on the couch watching a show if I want to. Like
Right.
we don't get to go to just any restaurant.
I
Like
don't
my
have
boyfriend's
a boyfriend,
like
but I eat pizza.
yeah. My boyfriend's like, where can we eat? Because like you eat a certain way and like you have to pick the restaurants because I bring up like 12 and like you can't eat there because of
Right.
your diet. So
Mhm.
it's like things like that. We don't get weekends. Like my schedule, I get like a month off the whole year to go eat, drink if I want to. Like I don't drink.
Just 1 month?
Yeah, 1 month. Like my off season is usually a month, maybe 2 months.
What
if
month
I'm
is it?
lucky. It's usually August or September.
Damn.
So
I remember like
That's like
yeah, 'cause
rough
I've known
because
her.
it's like before the holidays.
Yeah, I've known her
don't
for
get
about.
summers.
I've known her since the whole time she's been training. That's when
Mhm.
me and Annie met, and I remember like it was really hard because like we were 24 when
Yeah.
we met, and it was a time where we wanted to go out and like all these
Mhm.
things, and like she really had to be like disciplined. Like you couldn't drink. Like
No,
we
like,
lived in San Diego, you guys, and like she
Yeah.
couldn't go to the bar. Like
Oh
I
my
mean,
gosh.
I look at
Especially
it
San
like-
Diego.
And I don't say this in a bad way because I'm so
no,
grateful. And
like
I'm-
of course,
I think
but like it is.
I gave up my 20s.
Yeah,
Like I gave up my 20s for this
It-
thing.
Okay,
Ye-
well, I did it for you. So, like, I did that for you. Where I can't say that I went to the
Yeah.
Olympics.
yeah. You're like
My
she lived
friends
enough
lived
for
it up
both.
for me. Yeah.
She drank enough and ate enough and lived enough for both you guys, so it's fine.
I
But
lived through
Well, I
my
did that
friends.
for you.
But it's
that,
true. Like if we
it
wanted
was
to hang
hard.
out,
We couldn't. Like she was like, "Hey, like, can we like make dinner?" Because like we couldn't go to dinner.
we would
and
like
I was
make
obviously
chicken and veggies and watch
Yeah.
like, a show together. But
Yeah.
that was like that's like my freedom, and like I can't go out to the bars and do shots with my friends. And when all my friends, like you said, were living it up in their, early mid 20s, I'm dedicating my life to my sport. And so I'm like married to this sport. I have to be selfish. It's affected relationships. It's affected my career. It's affected, you put everything on hold for this.
Okay, so as far as like it's completely consumed your life, do you feel like that's like what you identify? as
I
like
think-
a track
well,
and field
Yeah, I
athlete?
think that's the struggle. Not even just elite, any athlete. I think, high school level, college level, elite, professional level, Olympic level. I think that a lot of athletes struggle with finding balance, and because you have to be so dedicated. Even like high school, you have to be like, they put you into one sport so young now. It's like
Mhm.
you just have to put all your eggs in one basket. So I think I've gone through different chapters, I think, through my athletic career. And I even think this last year was a huge learning lesson for me. And just especially because the Olympic year is like a pressure cooker. It's like tunnel vision. You're like, I don't have time for friends. I don't have time for hobbies. I got time for track. At night, I'm going to watch film. I'm going to study my sport. I'm going to journal. Like everything about my life was track and field. And I worked a lot with my mental coach, who, another reason, Cynthia and then my mental coach are like the reason I made the Olympics.
Okay, Cynthia, and who's this guy?
Who's this guy? We love this guy.
Taylor Brown.
Go Taylor.
Brown and Cynthia.
Taylor.
He's amazing. And
Cynthia.
Mind on Instagram. But he challenged me this year because I was not having fun. Like I look back at this Olympic season, and yes, I love it. I love my sport. It is the thing that's given me so much joy. But this season was really hard to find the joy. And I left many meets crying. I had many weeks with my sports site or my mental coach just really struggling through the season. And he challenged me. He was like, what are you doing outside of your sport that like brings you joy, that like
I was
going
going to ask you, like, why did you feel like you had like the toughest? Like, why was it
I
this
think
year?
because it's just, I was going to retire after Tokyo and I didn't.
Okay.
And I left Tokyo. I placed 6th place overall in Tokyo. I left there hungrier than ever. I'm like, oh my God, I can medal.
And just
I
to
can
say,
do
like,
this.
what do you do in track and field? Like, what
The
is your?
heptathlon.
I can never say that. So
Yeah,
what is
so it's
track
the
and field?
women.
Heptathlete.
I want to say hepala.
Isn't it? It's
Heptathlon.
Heptathlon.
Leslie-
Heptathlon.
Yeah.
What's the comedian? She did
Heptathlon.
heptathlon.
Heptathlon. Like literally every time I feel like I say it really well just because I've had to say it for like 8 years.
Yeah.
Heptathlete.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you do.
Yeah.
Because like when I saw that,
yeah.
I was like hepathlete. Hepathlete.
So it's the women's
Heptathlete.
version of the decathlon. So 7 different events in
Yeah.
track and field.
Yep.
Okay, just
Because
so, like,
men
they know.
have 10,
10 and we do
women
7.
have 7.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let's just like shout out Annie here. That's literally everything in track and field, right?
It's like it's like the all around athlete.
Yeah, like she
basically.
like
That's
it's like some people are just a high jumper, some people are
Yeah.
just long jump, whatever. She does them all.
Yeah,
She does
and
them
it's
all.
based on like
Yeah.
a point system.
Yeah, so like you have to like be like you have to be good in like the best in every single one of those. And so it's
Seriously.
not just like it's not like she's just doing shot put and that's what she does. Like she has to do that like with long jump, with hurdles, with everything. Like
Yeah.
and she has to do above and beyond in each of those events.
Yeah. It's like it's like what Bruce Jenner did too. A lot of people know that.
Yep.
But it's over 2 days and it's on a point system, and you basically get a certain amount of points for each event, like how
Right.
far you throw, how fast you run, and then they add it up at the end, and that's like your total.
So when you decided not to do Tokyo,
Mhm.
I remember this, and you because it was only 3 years because
Yeah.
of the
Because
COVID.
COVID, yeah.
So you were able to kind of re-enter the Olympics
Yeah,
or try.
So I
So
basically
this is kind of what led up to like your hardest.
after
time.
Tokyo, I left. I thought I was gonna retire, and I placed 6th, and I didn't even have a great meet. If I would have scored what I scored at Olympic trials, I would have medaled. So it showed me like, oh my God, I could win a medal. Like my goals changed, and
So it went from wanting to go to the Olympics.
to like
then-
wanting a medal,
Got it.
and finally getting financial support. So that was a huge thing. So I again went through another Olympic cycle. Like my boyfriend and I at the time, like again, he's so supportive, but it's like, okay, 3 more years of this where like track is the focus, and like I said, I have to be selfish. And so
Yeah.
it was just I put so much into the last 3 years. I put a lot on hold again, that I think I felt more pressure this year to go to the Olympics and win a medal again. And I
Yeah.
think that's kind of where the unhappiness and the joy got like sucked away from it. And so I worked a lot throughout the season with my mental coach of like finding the things outside of track that make me and bring me joy. I took like a pottery class at one point because I love pottery. I have like this idea of me like in overalls, like at my house with like kids running around. I'm like making pottery. That'll probably
I
never
love
happen.
that. I could totally see that too.
I was literally just thinking, like, she's got like one of those like rooms with like just
Totally.
clay
Oh, my own
and
studio,
like paint
like,
everywhere,
clay on my bed. Yeah.
and just like
And she's so good at design too. Like she
Dude.
literally
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like I started like dive into like that stuff and prioritize spending time with my friends because you just be like, well, I don't have time for it. It's like you do have time. You just got to make time. Like go over, grab a coffee, like go hang out, watch a show with a friend, things like that. That I started just really focusing on throughout the season, and I just became a lot happier like towards the end of the season. But I had to catch myself in those moments because, like I said, your identity with athletes can be. When your identity is your sport, it's going to be really fleeting. And I think a lot of athletes, Olympians especially, will get to that goal that you're chasing. And then you reach that goal and you wake up the next day and you're like, well, now what? You know, it's like there's always another thing that you're going to be chasing. Yeah. And so if all of your joy and identity is wrapped into your sport, it's going to be a pretty miserable life. So I've really tried to create balance and search for the things that make me outside of my sport so that it isn't my identity.
So as far as like, I know that you mentioned like financials, like how does that work? Because you
said like you wanted to get if you'd medaled, you get more financial sponsorship.
Yeah,
so
in my head, I think of like, you see the Olympics, especially like this year for me, I'm just like, wow, these guys must get sponsored. They must have like the best coaches. They must have this. They must have like the best like fields to go practice on.
Honest to God, when we first met, when you said that you were training for the Olympics, you know, I thought, oh my gosh, she's so loaded. Like I thought you were. I was
the most broke I've ever been.
You were broke as a mother beeping joke.
Like I remember one time,
so broke.
I remember one time my boyfriend like asked me to pick up groceries, just like not even like a lot, just like a few things, and I didn't have enough money in my bank account to.
So this is like when you were training, like,
and I was like training for the Olympics.
I thought like we think that like when we hear of people like winning the Olympics, like winning medals, like there's certain countries that like they literally give people houses, and like
isn't it?
Yes, they give people's houses, they give people like land, they give like money, blah blah blah. And
so crazy to me.
My mind was blown on the like lack of financial support that like our athletes get.
Yeah.
Like the United States.
Well, in the United States, obviously it's a massive country and
right.
It's like one of the most, we get the most medals. So track and field is a massive sport. So like you see, when you watch the Olympics, you see like the top sprinters and things. Those people are getting endorsement deals. They're doing great.
Yeah.
It's all the rest of us that are kind of in that middle ground that we don't get as much TV exposure. We're not like the top sprinters. That is a grind. Like you have to love your sport. You have to love what you're doing because you are not making money doing this. Like, and
so leading up to it, do you not have like, because you don't have the capacity to like even get a job.
No,
right?
and that's what you're like, training all day long. So like if I didn't have the support of my family, my boyfriend, before Tokyo, I wouldn't have been able to do what I do. Like plain and simple. There's some funding, like the funding that you get from USA Track and Field. You have to be top 15 in the world, which super easy to do that.
Just like, in the world.
Yeah. Top 15 in the world ranking. Or I think there's like 2 other requirements, like, you know, but the main one is top 15 in the world, and you get $12,000 for the year and you can get health insurance. So like,
I know
that alone.
Wait a second. My mind is like,
mind blown.
Like, wait a second. So you have to be top 15 in the world as an athlete,
and the funding that you get from your track and field is
$12,000 in free healthcare.
I remember when she was so pumped that she got it, and I was like, wait, what? Like that's
so every year
like,
you're chasing just to get that funding.
Like, what do they expect you to buy with that? With like,
and then we get $2,000 for a medical stipend for the year as an athlete.
You're hurting yourself recurrently, probably pulling a hamstring.
Yeah, you need rehab. You need like, and I was really lucky to be at the training center, but even that's all shifted. Where if you don't have funding, you can't even go into the sports medical team. So like if you roll your ankle at practice, you can't even go up there to get a tape job, like because you're not if you're not funded. If you're funded, you can go in there.
Wow,
it's really crazy. So it is. You look at the Olympics and it seems pretty glamorous, but in sports like track and field, you know, swimming probably might be similar, where people only care about it every 4 years. It's not like we have massive track and field events going on all the time out here.
It's like a good way to put it because I didn't really think of it that way.
Yeah, it's true. We
it's not like football.
Are so excited to see
hockey.
these athletes for 2 weeks, and then we kind of like. I mean, I myself even like, you know, dropped off like not paying as close of attention when it's not as close to the Olympics,
Yeah,
you know?
people care about our
You'd
sport
have
every
meets
4
and
years.
stuff, and I was like, oh, like, let me know what you do, like even as our friend, you know? And then it's like, so imagine like not even knowing somebody in it. Like that's just like what it is. And
you have to go to Europe, basically. Like Europe, our sport is huge. And like there's a lot of prize money, meets and things, Diamond League things that are larger prize money. But yeah, like the finances are definitely not there. So like to get me to Tokyo, I had the support of my family. I had funding from the training center, and my boyfriend was helping support me as well. And then I told myself, like, I'm not going to continue in this sport if I can't stand on my own 2 feet, because the guilt that I carried too with that, and my parents, like having asked my mom for money and hey, can you help me with this flight? Like, I got to get to this meet. It was just, it wore on me a lot. So I told myself, if I can't be financially independent moving forward after Tokyo, I'm not going to keep in this sport. And so my training and experience leading up to Tokyo was totally different the first cycle than this cycle. The second cycle, I finally got an agent. I got some endorsement deals. I got sponsors. And so it was a really different experience training for this next Olympics. But with that also came the pressure of like, okay, now I have sponsors. I don't want to let them down. People are paying me to do this now. It's not just because I love it and like, I just want to be an Olympian. It's like I have more pressure on me. So I think all of those factors.
Like now, like
more
your
responsibility.
mental. I was gonna say now your mental is probably like crap.
More
like
things
now
on your shoulders.
Yeah, a lot more pressure.
It's a lot more pressure.
The pressure you feel just in general with it is a lot. So
That's
that's
so
probably
crazy.
all what catered to like kind of this season and the challenges that came with it.
You know, like what I kind of think too is like listening to your story about like how you felt financially and how you felt like bad on relying on people like your parents and things like that. Like I think about the athletes that have like don't even have parents.
Oh, and that's the
and
thing.
like
my
don't even
training
have that
partner,
support.
Erica,
like that sucks.
Her grandparents raised her. Like I'm very
yeah, it's
blessed
like,
and lucky
gives me
in my
chills.
life that I can fall back on my parents.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that they're there to catch me if I need
Right.
it. There are so many athletes out there grinding, killing them every single day, working part-time jobs, working 2 or 3 jobs. I've known my roommate at this training center had 3 jobs while training for the Olympics. Like it's a lot. So that's the stuff that you probably don't see when like these glimpses and highlight reels of the Olympics.
Because it looks
we
glamorous.
just see the glam.
You see
we
like
see the glam.
you see the Chanel
And then the-
on
yeah.
the, on
Yeah,
the screen.
well,
You don't see
and
it.
it's like you said, it's not only that, but it's pressure from society too. Like
Yeah.
I know that you being somebody that you're 30,
Yeah.
seeing it was really hard to see your friends like get married, have kids, like especially
Miss
we're
weddings,
we're both from
seeing-
Denver,
yeah.
and it's like, oh my gosh, I go back there and people think I'm like a grandma
I know.
because I don't have kids and I'm not married. They're like, who are you? Where?
Because you get Botox.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, but I do look the youngest out of all my friends. Sorry, ladies. Sorry. But no, I go back and people are just like, wait, you're not married yet?
Yeah.
Like, when are you guys gonna have kids? Like, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, dang, like
Dude,
we
it's
have
the same though. It's like this,
we have Peter
like,
Pan syndrome in
Yeah.
California. We
I'm
never
not
want to grow up.
joking.
Never.
No, it's like the serious thing because even Arizona. Like,
Yeah,
I'm from
but
Arizona,
I
and that's
remember
just the same.
like you talking about that, and too because like obviously like Tyler, I love Tyler, her boyfriend. He's older than us, right? So he's now, I don't even want to, sorry, Tyler, you're pushing 40, but
39.
But yeah, so you're still holding on to the 30s, Tyler.
30.
But like, it is like a pressure from that too, because like the person that you were with, like was ready for these things. And you're, as a woman, you're you'd have to provide that baby. And you literally couldn't, like you needed to use your body for something that you, at that moment, there was no way you could do it.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's a layer to all of this as well, is the partner that signed, like Tyler didn't sign up for the Olympics.
Yeah.
Like
like training for two of them.
And he's been so incredibly supportive, but it's put a lot of, that's a thing that a lot of other people can't understand when I talk to them about, our relationship, our issues, whatever. And, and Tyler's my boyfriend, but he's my ex-fiance. Like, we've been through it all. Like, we were engaged.
No judgment.
Like,
It's good to be soon fiance soon.
Yeah,
I can already
again,
tell.
but, like,
Team Tyler.
that happened after Tokyo. Like, we went to Tokyo.
Two-time fiance.
And then Exactly.
2-time Olympian, 2-time fiance.
Yeah.
That's his title.
Totally. My ex-fiance, that's now my boyfriend. But that was a huge thing too, where like I decided I'm gonna go for it again. And while he was all about it, like he was here, he was supportive and for it. It's again, track is number one, and like everything is below it. And that even that in my life, it's like people are getting married, they're having babies. All of his friends are on their second or third kid because he's older than me. He's ready to settle down, but also wants this for me. It's just a part of the dynamic that people don't understand too, is like when you're dating an Olympic athlete, like you're also married to their sport and you didn't choose that. So it's definitely, it brings a lot of challenges for sure.
Yeah, I feel like people don't really talk about that because I wouldn't
No.
This is the stuff that when you look at something, this is why our visuals are so messed up, because you look at something on TV and you think, oh, like this is so great. Like those athletes have everything. Like you see these little kids at home thinking, I want to be just like him, or I want to be just like her.
Yeah.
And you don't really see like what it takes to get there. And that's what's like so mind boggling to me. Because as I sit here talking to the both of you, I literally didn't know any of this.
Yeah.
I think it's, we all know, I think everybody knows that Olympians go through so much rigorous training to get where you are,
Right.
but they don't understand the other things that you go through to get where you are as well.
Yeah.
Like, which include like, it's your life. Like it really is. Like, and I
It's
don't
always
think
in the back of your mind.
Yep.
Like, constant. Like
whether
constant.
it's for nutrition, for your lifestyle, for
even when I'm in the off season, I'm like, am I pushing myself enough so I come in fit enough in the fall? Like, so we'll be on vacations and I'm like running beach sprints. Like it's just constant. And so like for that to like finally like be able to turn that off, I've realized like how neurotic and insane I was. I'm like, oh my God, I really was crazy for 8 years.
Yeah, you're psycho. Like,
Yeah.
that's like literally psycho.
But it's also
you have to be.
You have to be. And like it's also what's gotten me where I am, and it's made me great, and it's allowed me to chase my dreams and reach my dreams.
Those who don't follow you, which everybody should. You went through probably I'm almost gonna get emotional. One of like the hardest things that like something unimaginable, honestly, in my opinion, for an athlete at least. Like you went to Olympic trials this year and talked to us about kind of what happened at those trials.
So leading up to trials, I was probably the fittest I've ever been. I was finally in like a really good headspace after having.
And this was this year, folks. Like this year for Paris
This is like
Olympics.
2 months ago.
Yeah.
Finally in like an amazing headspace with like just my confidence, with my resilience. Like I was just feeling amazing. I felt ready more than ever in the last 3 years, because I've battled injury for the last 2.5 years, basically. And 2 weeks before Olympic trials, I out of nowhere started feeling a pain in my foot that I had in my other foot that took me out for the season. It's my plantar fascia, and
oh man,
it's like a trauma response almost when you feel that pain again. And knowing it took me out for the whole 2022 season. It took me like 8 months to rehab and come back from that. And then hadn't had any issues in my right foot again. It took like 1.5 years to like not have pain, but I finally was like in a space where I could train fully. I wasn't getting pain in my right foot. Hadn't had pain in my left foot since 2017, and so it was random. It came out of nowhere, and all of a sudden, my left foot, I start feeling that pain, and so we threw me in the pool for the 2 weeks leading up to Olympic trials. So I hadn't touched the track until I got to Olympic trials. But even then I look back, I'm like, was I just like delusional, or was my confidence was just still like, I'm gonna fucking do this. Like,
you're like, am I Delulu?
Like, you weren't delusional,
like,
you're badass.
yeah,
you
like
driven,
in my
girl.
mind, I still was like, I'm gonna fucking do this. I was visualizing more than ever. I was like, okay, like this is forcing me to like visualize. It's forcing me to work on my mental. Like I'm ready. Like I just need my body to like be rested. The work is there.
It's like the mental's there. It's like you're waiting for your body to like just do it for you.
Totally. Like my body just needs to be rested, and I can get through this meet. We had plenty of meetings with doctors that were going to help me get through the meet. I was going to inject it with numbing so I couldn't feel the pain, because I'm like, okay, if I don't feel the pain, I'm good. Like I can do this. So we injected it that morning. And so it was super numb. I couldn't feel anything, luckily. Went through the whole warm up, went out to the track. And it was out on like the main track. So like my whole family's watching, the crowd is like right there. And, it was my last warm up over 3 hurdles. So it was like, after this one, I'm going and we're like, they're like asking everyone they need to leave the track. Like we have to get ready for the first heat. So we're like 5 minutes out from the race. And I land off the first hurdle and I feel a pop and my foot collapsed and I fall pretty hard. And I sit there and the emotion just like came over me. I just started crying. And then I realized I don't have time to cry. I gotta get my shit together. So I stopped crying, go to my coach. He's like, what did you feel? I'm like, I felt a pop. I couldn't really feel it, but I knew the stability of my foot like was gone. It just like, I felt it
just
tear.
release. Like it was,
I felt
yeah.
his hair. Yeah. And I looked at my coach and he grabbed my shoulders and he said, you know what it feels like? He's like, you can do this. And I was like, I can do this. I can do this. So even in that moment, I'm like, okay, I can fucking do this. I don't feel anything. It's fine.
What like a strong person to have right there in that moment.
Yeah. It was intense. And it all happened so fast too.
Mm-hmm.
My whole family saw it happen too. And, so then I almost wish I would have been the first heat because I had to go and wait. I was the 4th heat. So I had all this time underneath to like sit there. And it was like I had 2 sides. It was like I had the side of me that was realistic and is like, I think you just fucking tore your plantar fascia again. Like, I don't know how the fuck you're supposed to do 7 events after that. And then there was this other, Annie talking to me. It's like, you can fucking do this. Like, mind over matter, bitch. You got this. Like, you did not come this far to not try and to not give it your all.
Yeah.
And I lined up for the race. And I mean, I think you could even like see it on my face. I took a moment too, because I was going to retire after Paris. Probably that was like my plan. And so I sat there and I was like, this could be your last. I get emotional talking about it, but like, this could be your last time ever hitting the blocks, and like soak it in. So I like sat there and just looked at the stadium with the lights and like my family, and just like really took a moment to just like take it in, because I think I just knew it was my last race most likely. And by the grace of God, I made it through the race, like not well. I got like halfway, and then I think my coach thinks that it was like a partial tear, and then halfway through the race it was popped like all the way. It like went, because I made it through half and then my foot just like stopped working. And so I crossed the finish line. And yeah, I ran like a second slower than I normally would, which in the hurdles is like
that's a
lot.
Yeah. To those who don't know, a second is an eternity in track apparently.
Yeah, it's
so I remember I'd hear like, oh, they got 11 and they got 12. I was like, oh, they're so close.
Yeah,
no, they're not.
No.
Oh shit.
Nope.
Sorry. Okay.
That's like being 30 and 31. Not close.
It's light years.
Yeah, I know. It hurts.
It's a lot of points in the heptathlon too. So, they took me underneath. They did ultrasound. They told me it was torn. They put me in a boot and crutches. My coach was crying. I was crying.
Just must have been like such an emotional.
Like everybody was crying.
An emotional whirlwind in that moment.
I trained 3 years for this moment. You train for one meet for the Olympics. Like, it's truly the hardest team to make, because you have to perform on that day. You have to get top 3 at the Olympic trials. You train 3 years. Literally no other meet really fucking matters except this one. And for it to be over before it even began for me was just something I didn't expect. Of all the ways I thought it would play out, that wasn't one of them. And yeah, and then I had to go sit in the stands and watch the girls compete, because I wanted to like support my training partner.
Like literally,
and
that's like
I was
the dagger.
To sit in the stands and then be like, I should be down there. Like, this is fucking crazy. What is going on? It was like agony, like pretty torturous.
So it's like a heartbreak.
It was a heartbreak that I've never felt before. Like, we've all gone through like heartbreaks with relationships, even death, and like it felt like I was grieving. Like, it really did feel like a death. It was like the death of my dreams and my goals were gone in an instant. And it was just completely out of my control. I did everything in my control that whole year to set myself up for success. And so for it to get ripped away the way it did was really tough. Like it was a heartbreak that I've never experienced in my life.
It almost sounds exactly to me like a sudden death. Of anything, whether it be with somebody, an animal, a heartbreak that you have with somebody, but that's like,
yeah, it was.
Like,
and it felt like a death. Like it was all the different like anger, bargaining, depression, like all the different.
Isn't it 7 stages of grief?
Yeah, it's like anger,
yeah.
Bargaining, depression, acceptance, and like one other thing. And I felt all of those throughout the weeks after that. And then to watch, have the Olympics happening, and it's all over everything, and you can't escape it.
You can't escape it.
You can't. It was tough.
I told her to go camping.
I know.
And sure enough, her
go
phone,
to
I was like,
forest.
somebody go to the forest. Do it
Dude.
right. You're like, I love my country. Like, go with people who made it, but also like that's
sincerely fuck off.
Yeah, really? No, seriously.
Fuck the Olympics.
Like
Fuck the Olympics.
Yeah, it's been tough. But it's actually, like once the initial, the first like 3 weeks, once I got through that, and then I did a really good job of like protecting my peace and paying attention, staying off social media, spending time with family. Like we got out in nature. I think I did a good job of like distracting myself, but I'm doing a lot better than I expected. And I think all of the work that I've put in all year to create and know my identity outside of my sport and honestly getting closer to my faith through all of this, I think
God is so good. God is
And,
so good.
like, his
God is
plan
good.
so much better than anything that I could come up with for myself.
You got to give it to him.
Yep.
Yeah, and like I don't know what the reason is. I don't know if I'll know it now. I don't know it now. I might know it in a few years. Like who knows when it'll make sense. I know one day I'll look back and I'll know exactly why this happened the way it did. But it's definitely something that I think will stick with me. Like I think anytime the Olympics roll around, I'll probably have some sting still.
Of course.
Oh, that's like PTSD. Like it's like a legit thing. That's like what it's like trauma.
Yeah.
But for you, I know you've mentioned this before. It's like it's an Olympic hangover that you'll have.
Yeah.
Like
well, and that's
consistent.
the thing too. Like I don't know. In a way, I also feel like say this year went perfectly. I made it to Olympics. I won a medal. Kind of like what I touched on earlier, I could wake up the next day and be like, well, now what? Like, what's the next thing? What's the next thing I'm going to chase? Like, my whole life, it's like, okay, grow up, get a scholarship. Okay, go professional. Okay, go to the Olympics. Okay, win a medal. There's always that next thing that you're going to be chasing. And I feel like in a way, God is protecting me by having me go through all this to figure out my identity outside of track, to figure out what makes me happy, to know that it's not all the accolades and the medals that are going to bring you happiness. And so I am grateful for the journey and the letdowns because I feel like it's shaped who I am today. So yeah, I don't even know where I was going with that, but
no, well, it kind of went into my next question because I was going to say, what is next? Like, what's next for Annie Kunz? Like, what do you know? Maybe you don't know. I don't know. Do you?
I don't know. It's hard for me to say like I'm done with track. Like even now, I feel like right now, I don't know how I'll feel in a few months. Like that was always my plan to retire after Paris. But then the way everything happened, it's like, oh, it's like, do I want to go out that way? Like, fuck, I should have just retired after Tokyo.
You have that Annie. It's like, you got those two Annies, like the one that's telling you like, don't give up.
Yeah, that's
the
the hard part.
And you're like,
okay.
can one of you just shut up?
Yeah,
because I'm like,
you're like, I'm just in the middle.
Yeah, like that's the hard part. So like never say never. I'm not sure, but I do think that the last couple months, I think it has been easier for me because I think I have been at peace with everything of like, okay, I'm giving it through Paris and then I'm going to like start the next chapter. I'm 31 years old. I want to get married. I don't have kids. I'm excited for this next chapter in finding my next passion that I love interior. My next psycho.
Your next psycho.
I just got to channel it to a different psycho.
Yeah.
I love interior design. I think that's something that I want to pursue. Pottery for sure. Like I already have a nook at our new place that I like am ready to set up a pottery studio. And yeah, so I think I have this whole side to me, this like creative side that I haven't really tapped into because I've always been an athlete. And I'm really excited about like pursuing that and figuring out, what that looks like for me.
And I think it's really assuring to see like for you being an Olympian, for people outside like myself, youngers, anybody who is an Olympian too
Yeah.
to like connect, because I feel like sometimes you might feel isolated.
Yeah, for sure. It's something that a lot of people like can't really relate to, and it also it goes by like that. Like I think that's the thing that I realized going through the Tokyo is like it's like 2 weeks, and then you get all these like it's all this attention like for like a month probably.
Mm-hmm.
The 2 months leading up to the Olympics maybe, and then like the month after, and then the dust settles and you're in the thick of it again, like killing yourself every day, like trying to figure out where your next paycheck is from. And that's like the Olympic hangover that we talked about, where it's like you just realize how quickly it's gone and over. And I think that's where a lot of athletes struggle with like depression after the Olympics and things like that, because it's this like pinnacle moment, this thing that you've dreamt up your whole life. And then it's over and you're like, what now? What now?
Dang. That's like that's where mental health is like really at play, and that's why you had your mental health coach and
therapists, like all of it.
And I love that like you mentioned too, like this brought you closer to your faith, because I feel like a lot of times like in these situations it actually steers people away from their faith. Like
it's hard when
you have to
can go down the like
you have to ponder like, why would this happen to me, and like you question it instead of embracing like, okay, this happened, like what was like the reason, and what am I going to learn from it, and how am I going to grow from it, and like the good things like are going to come from this.
I really like people that don't have, which I'm not like judging or anything, like everyone has their own beliefs and whatever. I am just grateful that I have a foundation of faith and a relationship with God so that I can navigate these situations and feel like there's a greater purpose, there's a greater meaning there. It's not about me, it's about him. Like that's what I'm very grateful for. And I think that those are the like defining moments. It's really easy when you're successful. Like you don't learn much when you're successful.
Yeah.
You learn more through your failures than you'll learn anything about in your success. And I think these are like those pinnacle moments in your life where, like the Olympics was one of the biggest heartbreaks I'll probably ever go through in my life, but it's shaping who I am now. It's made me so grateful. It's made me learn things that I never would have if I just made the Olympics and got a medal and it was easy and whatever. I mean, not easy. It's hard to win a medal, but you know what I mean? Like if it was linear, like you wanted it to be. If the plan was exactly how I wanted it to be, I wouldn't have learned a damn thing. And so I really believe all of this has shaped me to be who I am. And, athletics is when you're in it, it doesn't feel like it's short-lived. But when you really look at the grand scheme of your life, it's like this much of your life. And the things that you learn, the adversity you go through, that shapes your character and is going to shape how you navigate life way past the Olympics and track and field and your sport. So that's kind of the things that I'm really grateful for. And I think just having my faith has really helped me to navigate those times.
Yeah. So if you were going to say like take one takeaway about like your psycho or one thing, like
one-liner.
Give me your one-liner or one sentence, like what would it be?
To anybody, to all you people.
Yeah, that you want to say about your like, psycho of being an Olympian, of being a professional athlete, of being, your life dedicated to this sport.
I just think it might be the thing that like drives you crazy, but it's also what makes you great and shapes who you are. Like that's my psycho.
Damn, love it. Damn,
it's gonna drive you crazy. It's gonna be really hard and really tough times, but then it's also the thing that's going to shape your life and make you who you are. And I think that's what track and field has been for me.
Well, I love that. And I love you. And it's made you pretty damn incredible, girl.
Oh,
yeah. So
I love you guys. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's been a blessing to have you on the Newport Psycho.
Yes.
This is fun. I love getting to like talk about this stuff and share, just what I've been through, and hopefully it'll resonate with someone out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Touch people's hearts.
And not only that, but just like open up people to like the reality and just maybe honestly give you so much, give athletes more respect.
Yeah, change, maybe to see some change, because
maybe some more funding.
Yeah, please.
Come on,
please.
Can we get some more sponsors?
Like, hey, here's zero money, but go win a medal.
Literally,
and if you don't win a medal, you suck.
We can't afford a can of beans, but here you go.
We want more medals, but we're going to cut your funding. So
yeah, no. Maybe we have to be better. We have to be better, especially if like that's what that. Yeah, seriously.
I mean, 100. That's it.
Well, thank you guys
Like,
for
to give
letting
you
me
more-
or helping me shed some light on
Yeah.
it. I
more
appreciate the
more
time.
support for our Olympic athletes. Come on, like this.
Are we
is
gonna go
insane.
viral for this? Hashtag support Olympic athletes.
Hashtag support. Hashtag the Olympic hangover.
Yep.
I love it.
I love you.
Annie. We love you,
Yes.
girl.
Love you guys.
Looking
Thank
hot.
you.
And also, I need her health coach, the one to pitch me. We want to know, do you have a psycho?
Person, place, or thing.
Send your submissions to
TEA at thenewportpsycho.com.
and you can be anonymous or you can be physically here
We'd love for you to join us. Tell
Come
us,
on.
who's your psycho?
at the Newport Psycho.
Ah!